During World War II, American soldiers landed on Tana-Island in Vanuatu carrying ships, planes, canned goods, and technology the islanders had never witnessed. To the inhabitants, everything appeared magical. White beings descending from above, distributing clothing and food, wielding radios that spoke independently and weapons spitting fire. Such powers could only belong to deities. After the war ended and troops departed, natives in certain areas began conducting rituals to summon these benevolent spirits back. They constructed altars from improvised materials, built symbolic runways, marched carrying bamboo sticks resembling rifles, and hoisted American flags, hoping the American deities would return bearing treasures. This became known as the John-Frum-Cult, allegedly named for an American soldier promising eventual return with abundance. Even today, communities celebrate John-Frum Day through dances, military dress, and flags awaiting their savior's return. Before dismissing this as primitive foolishness, consider an unsettling question. What distinguishes their deity from yours? From caves decorated by ancient ancestors to towers reaching skyward, from shamanic forest chants to monastery whispers, humanity eternally seeks the sacred. Every culture, people, and era fashioned unique interpretations of divinity. Egyptians worship Ptah as universal creator. Hindus revere Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. The Old Testament describes a vengeful, wrathful creator of heaven and earth. Greeks worshipped Zeus and his pantheon. Norse cultures had Odin. Are these separate gods or masks concealing the same being? Today we'll remove those masks and discover the authentic face of divinity. What you uncover may permanently transform your understanding of God, reality, and yourself. Joseph Campbell, the 20th century's greatest comparative mythology scholar, devoted his life to a discovery that would challenge organized religion's foundations. He found that behind every divine mask humanity created lies one universal truth manifesting itself. Human history is a stage where identical archetypal characters endlessly perform the same cosmic drama, merely changing costumes and accents. Campbell named this the monomyth, the hero's journey repeating across cultures regardless of time or location. He noticed something remarkable comparing mythologies from completely isolated peoples. Sumerians recorded Utnapishtim building an ark to rescue his family and animals from a divine flood. In pre-Columbian America, Aztecs told of Coxcox building a vessel surviving the deluge, destroying the previous world. Hindus describe Manu saved by Vishnu during the Great Flood. Cultures in Papua New Guinea, Native American tribes, and African peoples, all isolated, preserved nearly identical versions of this primordial catastrophe. Problems arise when we confuse mask with face, symbol with reality it indicates. Like someone pointing at the moon while we fixate on the finger instead of observing what it indicates. Organized religions often make precisely this error. They transform the finger into a worship object and wage war against all other fingers indicating the same moon. Humanity's tragedy lies not in spiritual expression diversity, but in that expression's fanaticism and absolutism. When cultures elevate their particular divine interpretation to universal, exclusive truth status, fundamentalism emerges. From that rigidity comes persecution, sacred violence, and holy wars. The Spanish-Inquisition tortured and executed thousands under pretense of defending true Christianity against heretics. The Crusades devastated the Middle East for nearly 2 centuries, supposedly liberating the Holy Land from Muslim control. Between 1 and 3 million died in these conflicts, including combatants, civilians, European Jews massacred en route, and entire city populations like Jerusalem, where crusaders killed nearly all Muslim and Jewish inhabitants. These wars culminated in Jerusalem's siege, resulting in approximately 70,000 deaths in that city alone. Presented as sacred missions, these wars were driven predominantly by economic and political interests, plus papal promises of complete forgiveness. Here lies the cruel paradox. The more violently we defend our particular God version, the further we drift from divinity. Campbell observed this occurring when living religion becomes dead religion. Living religion uses symbols as windows glimpsing transcendent mystery, a finger indicating the moon. Dead religion treats symbols as reality itself, completely losing their function of indicating something greater, becoming idols. A fascinating example appears in Buddhism's history. Buddha explicitly warned against worshipping his person, claiming he merely pointed toward enlightenment. He forbade statues of himself, insisting teachings shouldn't become dogma, but serve as rafts crossing ignorance's river, abandoned upon reaching the other shore. Yet today, over 500 million Buddhists exist, many worshipping Buddha statues. The finger became more important than the moon, precisely opposite his intention. This transformation from living to dead religion follows predictable patterns. First, someone has direct divine experience. They attempt sharing that experience using culturally available language and symbols. Immediate followers understand those words and symbols are merely temporary vehicles for truth transcending specific formulation. But as generations pass, followers forget original experience and cling to formulations. Metaphors become literal, symbols become idols. Living truth crystallizes into dead dogma, and protecting that crystallization necessitates declaring war on all other crystallizations. All these masks, all these seemingly conflicting divine interpretations are like prisms refracting identical white light into different colors. Light remains one, but our fragmented perception splits it into separate spectrums. This understanding isn't new. Sages from all mystical traditions reached identical conclusions through different paths. Plotinus wrote about the one from which all diversity emanates. Sufi mystic Ibn Arabi described being's unity, where all manifestations are Allah's unique faces. Hindu sage Shankara taught about Brahman, non-dual reality appearing as multiplicity through Maya. The Tao Te Ching speaks of Tao as fertile void from which all things emerge. My favorite interpretation comes from modern physics, specifically what physicists call the quantum vacuum, a zero-point energy field where virtual particles constantly emerge and disappear. All matter, energy, and spacetime arises from this fundamental substrate, different ways of expressing identical truth, God. Understanding this concept would revolutionize humanity. If only one fundamental reality manifests through countless forms, then division between my God and your God becomes completely absurd. Like two waves arguing about which is more oceanic. The wave may identify with its temporary form, but its essence is ocean. Why isn't this fundamental unity accepted by all cultures? Why does humanity insist fighting over masks when it could contemplate the single face behind them? The answer lies in what Campbell called the mask's power. Masks aren't merely neutral cultural interpretations. They serve specific psychological and social functions, creating identity, providing security, establishing hierarchies, justifying actions. We're living through a unique historical moment. For the first time, we have simultaneous access to all world spiritual traditions. A student can study Tibetan Buddhism mornings, Jewish Kabbalah afternoons, Islamic Sufism evenings. This cross-cultural exposure creates a new generation of spiritual seekers, naturally perceiving fundamental similarities between traditions. Science is beginning showing consciousness may be more fundamental than matter. Studies with experienced meditators show contemplative practices can literally reshape the brain. Over 35 years ago, scientist Matthew Ricard left a promising cellular genetics career to study Buddhism in the Himalayas. In 2004, he participated in neuroscientific meditation studies. Neuroscientists connected Ricard's skull to sensors. Results nicknamed him the happiest man in the world after brain scans during meditation revealed the highest happiness capacity ever recorded. These findings show unity perception isn't fantasy, but latent human consciousness capacity cultivated through specific practices. Perhaps the most important evolution is growing realization this perception is individually liberating and evolutionarily necessary. Problems we face today, climate change, global inequality, nuclear threat, environmental degradation, are symptoms of fragmented consciousness where individuals see themselves separate from the whole. Our species' survival depends on learning to see ourselves as cells in a larger organism, not separate entities competing for limited resources. Imagine an extremely powerful microscope pointed at an apple. Zoom into the skin until seeing plant cells like tiny arranged bricks. Going deeper reveals molecules, DNA, proteins, lipids, sugars. Deeper still finds molecules made of atoms with protons, neutrons in the nucleus, and electron clouds moving around. Even deeper reveals quarks, elementary particles smaller than protons and neutrons. That's current scientific understanding's limit. From here follow two interpretations. String theory suggesting fundamental particles are tiny vibrating strings, and quantum field theory saying everything emerges from invisible quantum fields. Beneath that exists an invisible energy sea seemingly empty, but constantly bubbling with virtual particles appearing and vanishing constantly. From this sea springs everything existing. Even space and time emerge from it. This potential energy ocean is known in physics as the quantum vacuum. From there everything emerges. Energy arising and interacting with the Higgs field gives mass to quarks forming protons, forming atoms, forming molecules, forming cells, forming the apple. Point this microscope anywhere and arrive at the same place. Whether person, wall, chair, or air, all reality emerges from this energy ocean. Forms we see in the material world are just different organizations of this energy defined by vibration. From Higgs boson level to galaxies, galaxy clusters, and the entire universe, nothing exists outside the quantum vacuum. It's essentially all that exists, an energy ocean with no mass or matter, pure energy. What qualities are normally attributed to God? Omnipresence, omnipotence, omniscience. The quantum vacuum is the potential energy ocean from which everything emerges. It's present in everything, therefore omnipresent. It's a wave of infinite potentiality, meaning it can do everything, therefore omnipotent. Because it's in everything existing, it's present in everything happening, which means it knows everything, therefore omniscient. The quantum vacuum is God itself, the creator Brahman Tao, the source from which all things arise. When people understand all atoms making up their bodies are entirely formed by the quantum vacuum both physically and mentally, and everything in the universe is as well, Earth's problems will vanish. All humanity's suffering comes from separation illusion, the illusion that we're individual egos and everyone's on their own. Believing this leads to wars, violence, abuse. After all, I am me and others are others. All suffering comes from resisting understanding that everything is the all, and the all is God, and God is love. Love is reality's foundation. Imagine a liver cell refusing to accept it's part of your liver. We're inside the all. Simultaneously, the all is inside us. One is all and all is one. Truly understanding and feeling this is enlightenment. Becoming enlightened is becoming one with God. In physics terms, it's when your vibration in hertz comes into phase with the quantum vacuum's vibration, the highest possible frequency, unconditional love. The person feeling this in their heart becomes a Buddha, an enlightened one. As the wisest man to walk earth said, "I and the Father are one." The day enough people feel this with all their heart, all war, slavery, murder, abuse, exploitation will become unacceptable. The good news is that for this to happen, it's only a matter of time. If part of you awakened throughout this message, if something inside recognized hidden order behind apparent chaos, then the next step is inevitable. The universe isn't an undecipherable mystery. It follows laws as old as time. The knowledge is available. The key is now in your hands.